Now here's the conclusion to our 100th episode, Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. Enjoy.
Anyway, Alice does find a newspaper clipping about Amanda Kruger, but before you go any further, she gets called downstairs by her father. This bothers me too.
There's like this giant pile of papers, and she just randomly picks up this one sheet that's
perfect
right
one.
on top.
Sure.
Oh, Amanda Kruger!
Right there.
Oh, look at there.
It might not happen in like every fucking movie.
Yeah.
It's just perfect. I know.
But
I agree with you. It's like right there all the time. So she goes downstairs to find her father talking to Dan's parents.
It's terrible.
Yeah, they are. The mother basically wants to know what she wants to do with the baby, and she says, "I'm going to keep it." And basically, the whole point of the scene is that Dan's parents are trying to, want to adopt Alice's baby and raise it as their own.
And legally take the baby
Basically
from her.
yeah.
How in the fuck is that even possible?
I guess legally, I mean, if you signed the paper and she, said, okay,
Wasn't
adopted.
she in a mental institution?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
they're
guess
trying
so.
to
prove
that
she's
crazy.
They're trying to.
Like,
The
she's
doctor calls
she's
the
unfit to be a
parents.
mother.
Yeah.
It's kind of history.
Yeah.
No,
she
wasn't
in a mental institution.
No, she was not.
Okay.
Yeah, they really have no basis to
No, they don't.
I think that does happen a lot. Grandparents' rights is
Yeah.
a thing in the courts,
Yeah.
which I've
in 1989.
I don't know. I don't know. Yeah, I just and that's such a weird. Yeah, that's really weird.
It's a weird. Anyway, but but they
his
basically
parents
come
never liked
down to
Alice
saying
anyway.
Yeah,
Alice's mental condition it makes her unfit to properly raise the baby. They do threaten legal action, but Alice and Mark just end up walking out of this conversation. They go back to Mark's hangout, his room back in the warehouse.
See, Mark's like hanging in the background during
Yeah.
that whole talk, like he's like eavesdropping.
Yeah, it's really just staying back there hanging out.
I love how he's standing back, and then when she storms off, he just goes,
Yeah.
and, and then he grabs his skateboard. And I'm like, you guys are fucking children, aren't you?
They're 18. They just graduated high school.
They're adults.
So Mark tells her that after Amanda's suicide, her body was never actually buried. Thus, her soul or spirit is trapped in its earthly resting place. And just where did he learn all this information? Well, he learned it from a Christian mythology book, of course.
Which happens to have.
It happens to have that Christian mythology.
Sure, and it's like it is perfect, like press print. Christian mythology book. It's not like an old leather-bound book or anything. No, it looks like I got press printed from like Penguin Publishing. You know?
It's a new edition.
Right, exactly.
It was hardback though.
I thought, me at first I thought it was a Bible.
It's
I
not
really
the
thought
same thing.
It was like, well, Christian mythology, Bible, kind of the same thing. If you think
Well,
about
it is the
It's
same
exactly
I was just
the
going to
same
say,
thing.
what is Christian mythology?
Exactly.
Exactly.
It's
Like,
yeah. So Alice tells Mark that that she's going to go to sleep and find Amanda, and of course, gotta watch over me, Mark. But when you do, don't fall asleep.
He has a huge responsibility here.
Yeah.
Eat some caffeine.
Right, and he knows Freddy's exist. He knows he shouldn't fall asleep.
Take this seriously.
He should be standing there with like bright lights on, standing kind of jogging in place, making sure he's not going to fall asleep.
Right.
Or
Something.
like standing like hot cold or
Right.
something. Because again, 5 movies into this franchise, every time this happens, we all know where this is
all
going.
know.
They all
I was gonna say,
Time and time again.
I had visions of Johnny Depp laying in his bed with his giant headphones on and that shitty TV
And
on
on
his
his
gonna
crotch.
stay awake.
He had a TV on his crotch.
Right.
It was a sweet waterbed too.
Yeah. It's the 80s.
So, of course, yeah. So, yeah, we cut to Yvonne in the school pool's locker room. She goes for a swim. And
she
once
gets in a
again, for
jacuzzi.
some fucking reason, the school pool has been left open just for her.
But she does ask, "Is it still open?" They go, "Yeah, you can catch it." She's like,
But
"Okay."
still,
it's,
like,
it's pitch black.
it's pitch black.
Yeah.
There's no lights. It's like, why?
There's no lifeguard. There's no.
It's just her.
It's just her. So Yvonne
She
gets
immediately
in.
jumps right in the jacuzzi.
Yeah, into the hot tub, closes
Pretty
her
sweet.
eyes.
That should keep you awake.
It's never smart to fall asleep in a hot tub. Ever.
No.
No matter what.
Close
Freddy
her eyes,
Krueger or
and she
not,
just
don't
slips
fall
right
asleep.
underneath the water.
Yeah.
You almost said that like there's a personal story to tell. Whitney Houston died by falling asleep in the tub.
Uh-uh,
because
is that true?
She was found in the tub.
It was a like a jacuzzi
No,
tub.
she was found like in
It
her
was a hot
jacuzzi
tub.
tub.
It
in
wasn't-
her-
it was a
Either way, don't fall asleep
bathroom
in
tub.
any body of water.
Freddy
Krueger got Whitney Houston too. I know. Here's another movie idea right now.
We have solved it.
Robert Englund's making a comeback, baby.
He's
He's
God
like,
damn
Whitney
it! Somebody writing this shit down somewhere, please.
Can we cast Whitney Houston's daughter to be Whitney?
Yeah.
R.I.P.
Sorry.
Too soon.
Bobby
Not
Brown.
Bobby Brown's still around.
He's Bobby Brown. He's still around.
We can use him somewhere.
He can play himself. It'd be his prerogative, you know.
Oh.
Yeah.
So,
It was the 80s. It was the 80s.
so we jump back to Alice in the dream world, running down the hallways of the old mental hospital, calling out for Amanda. Meanwhile, back in reality, Mark is lying on the floor reading his comic books. Alice is ascending a staircase that leads up to the tower. And then we go back to Yvonne getting out of the hot tub. As she walks away towards the high dive, we see Freddy's glove scraping across a metal pipe. So Yvonne climbs to the high dive board, readies herself for a dive, but the diving board begins to break apart, and the broken pieces of the board morph into like giant fingers trying to grab her. She leaps off the diving board, but the pool now is changed into a nice crisp pool to a rusted out, dirty, empty shithole of a pool. Yvonne can just then for some reason she's like, oh, I'm gonna go into this head first now. Because at first she jumps off, she's kind of like just jumping, and then
She's like floating through the air, like.
Yeah, she's when
But now she sees the pool is completely like, okay, now I'm gonna head dive.
it's
first.
so funny because they do it like they show several different like fade scenes where she's kicking wildly, like doing the Running Man in the air, and they show this over and over and over again, and then all of a sudden she goes perfectly into a free
like
fall.
Olympic
Greg
dive,
style, yeah.
Olympic
Yeah.
dive, like she's going head first into an empty pool.
Now, on the diving board, I liked that a lot. I really did. Like, the gloves come up over her in case
yeah.
they're
Yeah.
huge, like
Oh, yeah,
huge, and
massive.
they're encasing her. And that it was almost like the fridge scene in a way. That's where they're
Right.
using that weird
yeah.
claymation
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Also, kind of made me think of Death Spa again, because there's a diving board that came to life there too.
Oh no, the diving
It
board
didn't come to life,
like,
but there was a scene with the dive and
screws, yeah, she like the ghost
diving
unscrews
board
the
act. There's
screw,
diving board
yeah.
incident.
Only
Did
if
you
there
hear
was
about
some,
what happened at the diving board?
if only there was some limp asparagus in this movie.
Oh my god!
We could make the greatest connection.
We should go back and look in the fridge. I bet there's some.
There's gotta be limp asparagus
Or
in
a
the
dead
fridge.
talking fish, maybe. You know?
Oh god, that's right.
So,
I can rewatch that movie.
Yvonne's diving headfirst into an empty pool, but there's one little puddle of water left in the pool, and she happens to dive directly into the puddle.
Nails
which
it.
then turns, she dives through the
Hey, she's been
puddle.
practicing 2 hours a day, 6 days a week.
Yeah,
Yeah, she
Hanging
has.
off.
and she lands in some kind of like nightmare well or something. So it turns into a nightmare well. So that's that. We go back to Alice, who for some reason seems to get sucked up against the wall for no real reason whatsoever.
Well, Kruger says something here, and he
Well,
like,
he says his line,
and roll.
Yeah, it's time. But he says that after. But it's like, yeah, she's walking down the hallway on the floor, and all of a sudden, just like a magnet, just sucked up
she-
against the wall.
She finds the wall. She finds the like the opening,
Stairwell.
the stairwell to where
brick
Amanda is supposedly. And so
Okay.
like because that's why she went there. She was trying to find Amanda. So like you get the idea. She's up against the wall. Like, is this it? And
Freddy's
then
doing everything he can to keep her from
right,
finding
I get
Amanda.
that.
Yeah.
It's just weird that if he could just pull her backwards, basically. Why is she stuck to the wall and starts rolling down the wall?
'Cause
as
you
he
don't
says-
get-
Because rock and roll.
Yeah, you don't get the cool one-liner.
But you can still say rock and roll and have her roll across the floor. I mean, it's just weird. I don't know. It doesn't
Come on.
fucking matter. Okay.
it's a dream, Andy.
Yeah, that's right. So this door, she's rolled through a doorway, and this door leads to that well that Yvonne fell into. But Alice is like grabs onto one of these chains that are hanging from the ceiling, keeps her from falling into water. But it doesn't really fucking matter because she drops in anyway, and the water's only waist deep. So yeah, there's kind of pretty anticlimactic there.
Was it even
Oh,
waist
oh,
deep?
oh.
It's like, felt like Alice stood into it and it came up to her like her shin.
Yeah.
I don't think it was even that.
So Freddy rises out of the water, and Alice is like, "I know what you're up to." And Freddy says, "I thought I was up to Yvonne," and pulls Yvonne out of the water by her hair. Then Alice grabs a pool skimmer. Of all the weapons to have in a dream, I grab a pool skimmer and stabs it through Freddy's mouth.
I gotta say, she used the pool skimmer to the best of her ability.
Absolutely.
You know, in this scene too, and I don't know if it was just like she only had the power for a minute, but if you remember in the end of 4, what she did is everybody that died, it was like their best qualities she sucked
she took
in.
them on.
So then she used that, and I always loved that scene, and even now it's still awesome to watch that.
Which
Does she not have any
I was
of
gonna say,
that
she went from
anymore?
being the dream master to being dream bitch, apparently.
She
She has none of that anymore.
Yeah, she stood in front of a mirror doing nunchucks.
Yeah.
So instead of a pool
She had
skimmer, maybe
karate
grab the
power.
goddamn nunchucks that you used in part 4.
Yeah, like all the training, everything is just gone. They completely, again, that's what I'm thinking. Like writers they just completely forgot the previous story. Like Amanda should be like, or Alice should be like, oh, this again. All right, let me just pull some shit out. Bang, bang, bang. You're dead, Freddy. I've got this.
She was a black belt. It was awesome.
Yeah, at least try it and show that it wouldn't work.
Yeah,
You know,
they
like-
can completely, basically, like forgetting that ever happened or
Yeah.
not acknowledging it. So she stabs Freddy through the mouth with a pool skimmer, and then this gives Alice and Yvonne just enough time to scramble out of the room. Freddy goes after them, but right as he reaches the door, he sees something that causes him to retreat. The door closes behind him. We never see what it is, but all we can imagine is that it had something to do with Amanda, maybe. But we never see it. Yeah, we never see it, but I guess that he couldn't enter the mental hospital or something. I don't know. They don't do a very good job clarifying it here.
She just kind of goes,
Yeah, and
he like kind of hisses almost like,
so we jump back to Mark, and he finds a comic called Nightmares from Hell, and he opens it up and starts flipping through it. Now, drawn out on the pages of this comic book are the scenes we just saw with Yvonne on the diving board. And as he flips through the comic book, we see all the scenes from the rest of the movie, past the whole previous movie, drawn out on the pages. And he flips one more page and sees that they're all blank except for one frame on the top that shows Mark lying on the floor reading a comic book.
because we already know, we've already established, if you're going to stay awake, you're going to lie on the floor and read comic books.
Right, that makes a lot of sense. In the dark, essentially.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch. I'm just
There were
so
some,
mad.
hey, there were some pretty sweet comics though.
Dude,
Yeah.
I was going to ask Aaron because we were big comic book collectors as kids.
Right.
Like I was going through like looking at each cover, like, oh, I had that one, I had that one,
Yeah.
I had that one.
Some Avengers. It was
I was-
X-Men.
X-Men, Spider-Man,
Yeah.
Avengers.
I was like, he's got a pretty sweet collection. A lot of Marvel.
A lot of Marvel,
yeah.
So as soon as he flips that last page, light begins to burst out of the comic book, and it sucks Mark
blue light.
into. It's like a white.
But
blue,
it
something like
hits
that.
him, and it turns his whole body into like that aha.
Yeah, he gets sucked
art.
into.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, it
And
turns his whole
this
body.
is where I was
Yeah.
originally gonna say this is where it really turns
Yeah.
into the aha video.
Yeah.
It's straight up aha. Now I wish I didn't get time
You
to
guys
look
are
this
good.
up.
We didn't practice.
I didn't get time to look this up, but I wanted to know what came, like when did the aha video come out? Was that before this or after this movie?
Well, the aha video was one of the very first
Yes.
videos on MTV. Not
That's
the
right.
first.
no, the first
but
one was
One
that
of the
yeah,
first.
Fred,
yeah.
it was like one of the big like, wow, this is music videos. Whoa, what are they doing? It's amazing. And I think it was like 83, 84.
I don't
It
know.
was earlier than this, yeah.
It was way earlier than 89.
I'm pretty sure it was, but it was like they obviously got. I mean, this is basic aha again. It's exactly what this is. So everything's black and white and kind of hand drawn, like pencil drawings. And Freddy shows up, chases Mark through the black and white Dream World warehouse. And now, like I said, if things aren't stupid enough already, here comes Freddy on a skateboard. And he is slicing the support beams, which causes the whole place to collapse. But Mark's just lucky enough to be right in like this safe pocket where he avoids getting crushed to death.
It was a skateboard. Was
Freddy Krueger is pretty sweet at shredding.
He is.
Shred that
It's
half
got
pipe.
like
Yeah,
the
shredding.
Freddy claws are on the.
The back of the board, yeah. Like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
Kick, what the kick?
Just the
part-
tail.
Tail.
Just
Okay.
the tail of the skateboard, yeah. And I was thinking, man, if he goes for any sort of trick, he's just gonna cut his foot off. Yeah, that's a pretty dangerous board.
So he looks up to see Freddy holding up the dead version of of Greta as a doll, and he lets her go as she falls to the floor. She shatters into pieces at Mark's feet.
Well,
Freddy,
he's holding up Greta as a
She's
as
like
a
a mini
person.
She's
person.
a person stuffed.
Yeah.
It's the porcelain
He's like,
doll version.
she's tasty. He's like
Yeah.
eating her.
Yeah,
He goes,
he's
"Food."
holding
Eating
her up.
stomach.
Yeah.
He's holding.
But she's like a doll, though. It's
No.
No.
Like up at the top, he's standing on top of the scaffolding, and it's her. It's
Yeah.
great because blood drips on his head.
He's
like,
dressed her like a doll.
She's
like
got the,
she's
that's what I'm thinking.
she's got the big
Yeah.
cheeks, and he's eating out of her stomach.
Yeah.
Like, ugh, she's tastes. I don't remember what she
she's
says.
got another one.
And then when he throws her, then she falls as a doll and shatters.
Yeah, that's okay. There, thank you. And he throws the shit. Freddy leaps down behind Mark.
And this is when Mark gets.
Mark is pissed. He's finally had enough. He spins around to face Freddy, and in mid-spin, he transforms himself into the comic book character that he's always drawing, who's armed with like these two guns, and it's a really definitely an 80s like character.
Look, this comic book character's look is so weird, but kind of. It's almost steampunk in a way.
It's very steampunk.
It's like he's got a half bandana around his eyes. It's like it covers the top of his head.
Yeah.
And it's got eye holes like a Ninja Turtle kind of, but it covers his whole head.
It's
Bandana.
like goggles, but
He's got
Yeah.
he's got like one like targeting reticle,
and he's got a target
Yeah.
one
like
that
a
comes up.
monocle almost.
Yeah, like comes up on the side.
monocle.
I think it even has a little gun on it too.
cool.
And then he's got two handguns that are in
That are
like
attached to like metal hinges or arms or something.
Yeah.
it's like, why?
I
Which
kinda
would
liked
even
it.
really limit your ability to move the guns
unless
and shoot
that's
in
how
various
it-
directions.
Unless that's how it loads. I don't know. Why are they like?
I don't know.
I
I
guess it's
liked
supposed
it.
to look
I liked
cool,
it
but, like,
too.
if you
I
think
thought it was
about
awesome.
It was not functional at
No,
all.
it's not functional.
But it was cool.
But I thought it was cool because Mark was like in his dream. He's like fighting back
Which
in
again,
his dream.
which makes a point. Bring back
The
that
thing
gun.
is-
Like, why didn't Alice do this? He figured it
Yes.
out. And this is his first
And-
time. Like, oh, I'm gonna turn into my comic book guy and
Thank
shoot
you.
the shit out of you. But Alice, who's done this before, is like, I don't know what to do.
That's one of my biggest complaints
she's
about
pregnant.
like any of these
Yeah,
movies,
right.
but
She's
especially
out of her
like
mind.
Dream Warriors, where that the whole movie is them figuring out how to become their badass versions
Yeah.
in the dream. But really, it's still a great movie. But when you watch, like even in this one, when he turns into his hero character, like it's for 1 minute, and then he's beat. Even in Dream Warriors, they never really got to like really kick his ass, like for a second. But like that, I mean, I don't know. I think
It was cool because he's like shot Freddy and like Freddy like
He's got like Freddy.
He's got like
instead of
confetti
blood,
almost
it's
coming
colored,
out of him.
It's
you know?
colored confetti coming out of him instead
Right.
of blood, which was I thought actually a nice.
Very
effect.
It's
cool.
a
That was
cool scene. It's just like that idea should now turn into like a half-hour battle in my mind.
Yeah.
I don't know, like you know.
I agree. It should have lasted a little longer,
Well,
but
Doug, there's only so much time.
Yes,
so
in a dream.
yeah, he unloads in Freddy, and we talked about the confetti, so we'll move on. Freddy falls over dead, but as Mark gets closer, Freddy rises up. Only this time, Freddy is all jacked up and huge, and Freddy's he's wearing a cape with a lightning bolt across his chest, and now he's bulletproof.
And
he calls himself Super Freddy.
he turns into a muscular black man.
Yeah,
He does. He absolutely does.
Do you know the trivia about that guy that plays
Yes.
Super Freddy?
I was gonna ask that too, but we were gonna.
That's
we'll do
coming
that
up in
later.
odds and ends.
Okay.
Yeah.
But fuck it, we brought it up now. Just bring it up. That saves me time later. Go ahead, Doug.
Well, I did read that the guy that plays Super Freddy is the guy doing the love scene
yeah,
in the
there's a sex
beginning
scene
of
in
the
the
movie.
beginning. Yeah.
No.
Which
Yeah.
harkens back to she wasn't fucking Dan, she was fucking Super Freddy, and that's when it all comes together.
Well done, Doug. He was fucking Super Freddy. But yeah, that's exactly what I found out as well. So yeah, so Super Freddy now starts this slicing Mark apart, and Mark is now transformed again, but this time he changes from his comic book hero to basically a paper doll version of himself.
A two-dimensional.
Which Freddy just slices into pieces. And the color drains from the paper doll Mark like he's losing blood. Like it just drains from like he's...
It's pretty cool.
It is a good effect. Freddy continues to shred Mark into pieces as Mark screams. We jump back to the real world where we see Mark's bloody arm fall on top of a comic book. The camera pans down, and we see the Nightmares from Hell comic has now been filled in with this Mark's death scenes off. It's filled in the pages. But I also noticed here that the Super Freddy is different. The Super Freddy we see in the actual movie fighting has a cape and a lightning bolt on his chest. The Super Freddy drawn into the comic book had more of a Superman logo on his chest and not a lightning bolt. So they even fucked that up.
Yeah.
Like that's like, how do you fuck
Good
that up?
catch, though.
So Alice wakes up, sees that the warehouse is a total mess. Shelves have collapsed, and Mark's bloody and dead his body buried underneath all of the shelving and all that. We fast.
And maybe you talked about this. I stepped away for a minute. Did you talk about how he had his comics just laying all down the hallway?
Yeah. Well,
no comic collector would leave it. It really pissed me off. I was like,
Flop them around. We didn't mention that. We were admiring his collection.
I was looking at the covers like, oh, I had that cover, I had that one.
Yeah.
But it bothered me too. Like I'm looking like, and just like I'm gritting my teeth like, oh, those should be in protective sleeves.
yes.
Why is it out of its protective
I mean, if you're a
All right,
kid, you'll
Brevy.
do that, but not if you're 18.
Yeah,
you're not going
I-
to leave them strewn out like in the hallway where you can't even walk.
Right, like when I was a kid, like I had all my comics in protective sleeves, and I just somebody that I got into habit of really
Bagged
early
and boarded, baby.
bag and boarded. But it would drive
We
me
should have
fucking
boards.
nuts
Yes.
about Aaron. I go over to Aaron's house to read his comics, and his were just thrown into a drawer, all wrinkled up.
A few moon
I'm
goons
like,
could see Aaron shaking his head right now.
Yes, it was.
That's right.
I kept
And I
it.
remember there were years like we were so big in comics, like birthday presents. I'm like, oh, I'm gonna give him some awesome, like really special comics. Like I got him like Wolverine #1.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
God.
I'm so scared. Like I'm gonna give him to him, and it's just gonna be wound crinkled up on in his drawer somewhere. And I just spent like $25 on a comic book
Yeah,
for him.
yeah.
When I'm like,
enjoyed it. He
10 years
thoroughly
old.
enjoys
As long
his
as he
comics.
enjoyed it, yes.
so
That's funny.
But anyway, back to the movie.
It's
got
all
no
true. I was really bad with my comics. I didn't have a long box. Ah.
You didn't need a long box. You just need boards and sleeves.
That's
Anyway,
a good thing I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
Yes.
Except for what I know from Mallrats.
so we fast jump to Levon waking up and jumping out of the hot tub, and then right back to the warehouse
hot
where the
tub.
police and EMTs are at the scene. A cop tells Alice that nothing in the place was up to code, and that's what caused everything to collapse.
Oh yeah.
Yvonne pulls up
So
in
it's
her
his
car.
dad's fault.
Yes.
Yvonne pulls up in the car. She and Alice hug it out. They cry. Alice tells her that it's up to them to stop Freddy and that they have to find Amanda.
Oh my god.
So again, Alice like, Yvonne, go to the asylum, find Amanda.
Go to the asylum.
Hey, Yvonne, you've not believed in any of this from the start, but you know what? You're going to this old rundown
Exactly.
asylum.
Go to
By
the
yourself.
And you've
abandoned
never had any of these dreams that even tell
asylum.
you where to even look or have any idea, but you're going to go.
Vaughn's like, cool, as long as I don't have to take a jacuzzi with that
Yeah.
guy.
That's what she said. Yeah.
And then Alice is taken away by her father. Yvonne arrives at the asylum, heads inside, while Alice is sleeping back home. But this allows Alice to enter the dream world version of the asylum. So now it's like same place but different universe
Right.
type
She knows
thing.
Yvonne shows up with a mag light the size of a baseball bat.
Well,
Yes. Yeah.
I'd be showing up with more than that.
Yeah.
hey, I'm
many
a big ass
vagrants
mag guy,
live
too.
in
Those
that
are good heavy.
thing?
You can club somebody pretty
I mean,
well.
this
with one
thing
of
is
those.
like 3 foot long. It's like the big boy. I'm like, holy
And
shit.
this is any horror movie, but did you notice, like, as their friends die, they're all like, oh, they're dead. And then they just move on. They don't take any minute to be like, holy fuck, they're dead. Like, what? They're dead. We got to
Right.
plan a funeral?
Now,
We got to go to the wake?
I would understand. I get that point. I totally get it, but it makes sense in like maybe a Friday the 13th where all the kills are happening over the course of like one night or something like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
So I get that you don't have time in the morning because you're still fighting for survival.
It's about
but
self-preservation.
yeah, but this is like
Right.
where it's happening over the course of several days, and like, oh, she's dead.
Well, I
Well,
mean,
let's move on.
realistically,
Yes.
this movie went on over like what? Friday was graduation.
It's
By
like
A
Tuesday, not
weekend,
even.
a weekend,
Yeah.
at least a couple days. But Doug's right; they never mourn anyone. Like, oh, I'm so sad. They don't cry. It's like, all right, let's move on.
But
That's a great
Sunday
point.
was the ultrasound. I mean,
Yes.
Yeah, good point. Yeah.
So, where was I? Okay, Alice is in the dream world version of the assignment. She's calling out for Freddy and running through the halls looking for him. Freddy finally appears once she mentions Amanda's name. Then he shows up. Now, Yvonne in the real world, she's found a bricked up opening that leads to the tower. So the original tower doorway had been bricked over, and somehow she's found him. Just happened to find that.
It was bricked over, but not very well.
Not very well because she breaks through
There
with a mag
is
light.
no way she would have
She's
found
so
that.
talented.
There's just no way.
I
There's-
agree with
None.
And
None.
the castle, as Aaron put it earlier.
Yes,
It's
yeah,
asylum the size of a
Castlevania.
fucking
The
castle.
fact that she finds the tower like immediately, not
Yeah.
wanting to be like, it would
Right.
take her hours to
She,
find
Look
it.
at the
finds,
staircase.
just happens to find a perfect piece
And
of
this-
rebarb.
Oh yeah.
What we're about to
Yes.
get into is the last 15 minutes, I think, of the movie.
Yeah,
And there's a lot to cram in the last
Yeah.
15
This is
minutes.
craziness.
So Freddy is chasing Alice through the halls in like a cat and mouse like game when Allison suddenly appears pushing the car-sized baby carriage, which now also has spikes protruding out of it. She rams it into Freddy, impaling him with the multiple spikes through the chest. She rolls it into the room where the 100 maniacs were in the opening, and the carriage goes crashing down the stairs. Freddy gets free of it, but he's sworn by all the inmates that still happen to be there now for some reason.
So now they're gonna gangbang Freddy.
Freddy, his ass is about to be just lit up.
Just
Do they
destroyed.
gangbang him?
They do.
So that coal that we see is Freddy's ass after
Nicely done.
That's why it's so big.
I was about to go there. That's awesome. Yeah.
So
Marshall had that shit written down.
Yeah.
no, actually,
Off the cuff.
basically the inmates rip Freddy apart the limbs, and one of his arms gets tossed aside, and when it hits the ground, it explodes into dozens of incredibly shitty-looking CGI
spiders.
tarantulas.
With little red and green striped backs.
Yeah.
Just like his sweater.
Yeah.
So they're painted like his sweater.
Freddy spiders.
Yep.
Freddy spiders.
So
It's a new species. They're nocturnal.
Freddy is Kruger's
Sure.
It's called
tarantulas.
National Geographic right now.
So Alice now hears a child giggling coming from some other room, and she goes to check it out. As she walks through the door, we hear Freddy's voice talking to the child. Now, I said before, but shit gets real fucking weird from here on out.
Absolutely.
So, bear with us. She emerges into like an MC Escher like world,
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
which you could also make a Labyrinth reference here too.
Yes.
True.
She finds Jacob and Freddy playing together on like a landing, and Freddy is still all messed up, looking for him to have his limbs ripped off.
He's
and
all
trying to put
fucked
himself
up.
back together. Alice tells Jacob to come to her, which he does, and this pisses off Freddy. So Freddy limps after Jacob. And again, I can't really do a good job describing just how wonky Freddy looks in this scene. So here,
Is
anyway,
it as bad as when he first appeared? Or?
it's almost.
Kinda.
So basically,
Yeah.
we're now in this upside down, right side up, everything sideways, acid trip scene of Jacob, Freddy, and Alice, and even the baby carriage going up and down the crazy, wonky stairs.
Jacob.
Freddy tries tricking Jacob by appearing to him as Dan, and like I'm your but Alice puts a stop to that. I was like,
Don't worry, son. Come on with me.
Jacob, that is not your father.
So eventually, Alice and Jacob they meet up on a circular lane, like on a stained glass window floor or something like that. Jacob drops some knowledge on Alice about Freddy's powers.
Oh my god. Yeah, what is this?
Like, just it's fucking crazy. So
Is that where he lives inside her
Yeah,
or
he
something?
lives
I was
inside
like,
you.
Oh,
He's
yeah.
using you because he knows you so
Now,
well.
now here's
What?
where I want to, and this is legitimate. Okay, so earlier I mentioned like why is Freddy tormenting teenagers, but in this movie, and I must have missed something. What's Freddy's a plan? So he brought himself back to the dream world through her being pregnant, like so he reenacted like the Amanda Kruger giving birth.
He
So now
brought his mother back.
Well, he's now back in the dream world, which is basically where he always was.
yeah,
Right.
But what is the significance of Jacob? Once Jacob's born, does Freddy want to be possessed?
Like reincarnated
In
into
Jacob?
a baby?
I'm asking, I
which
don't
was
understand.
the plot of
That's-
number 2.
Yes.
The whole thing was he was trying to possess the kid in that one,
Yeah.
and to live through him.
Through him.
Right.
So yeah, I totally agree.
So go
And
to
then-
the
That's
game.
what I
or
kind of
it's-
got when you talk about the soul
Or
food.
it's a child's play again, just like the killer possesses Chucky's body.
Well,
It's like-
because Freddy was feeding the souls of Dan and Greta to the baby.
Jacob.
To Jacob.
So does he want to become Jacob and live in the real world?
I guess
Kinda what
so.
I was thinking.
But
Yeah.
because in the scene you're about to say, there's where Jacob turns around and is like, "Teach me everything."
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
then I'm like,
Well,
now
Amanda-
wait a minute.
yeah.
Now
Or-
is
that's
Fred-
what I'm saying. Or is Jacob basically going to be like his Padawan or something like?
Like
is he gonna,
Prodigy.
Yeah,
Prodigy.
Prodigy. And Freddy's going to be like his tutor or
Okay.
That's what I
something.
was thinking.
Yeah.
And does anybody else wonder why the name Jacob? Why? Oh, this kid is suddenly
Yes.
instantly named.
Yeah,
There's,
yeah.
there's no rhyme
They
or
do
reason.
reference that. They're like,
Mark,
you already,
Mark says that.
you already named him.
Well,
She's
early
like,
on
I
when she
guess.
first
I
meets
guess.
Jacob, she's like, "Oh, I always love that name." So it's almost like
So the kid named himself, apparently.
Kinda.
Yeah, he's like, my
Yeah,
name's
or-
Jacob. Like, oh, I like that name.
or unless Freddy
Sure.
knew, because Freddy's part of Alice.
And he's like,
We're
she
looking
likes the
too
name
deep.
Jacob.
Right.
I'll do her this solid.
Right. So Kruger actually named her child.
Okay, yeah. So no answer really.
No,
Yeah,
it
I-
doesn't
it's-
make any sense.
No. Yeah, so Alice shouts out, "Okay, Kruger, this is for keeps." God damn it. Now, what happens next is so fucking bonkers.
This is for keeps.
At first, it looks like Alice is starting to turn into Freddy, but then we realize that Freddy is actually coming out of her body, out of her face,
It's kind of
and
Evil Deadish.
his head comes out of her face. Like,
Yeah.
let that sink in.
Like Sarah said, very Evil Dead. She looks like a Deadite.
Yeah,
and then
the sounds.
And
Oh,
then
good
it starts
call.
to look
Yes.
like.
Also, again, kind of Beetlejuice.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was about to
when,
say.
Like, Gina Davis, like they're pulling their face in the story. It's kind of like that too.
Exactly.
So once their heads are separated, we see Freddy's arm rip up through Alice's torso and a Freddy leg come out of her right ass cheek. At this point, I don't know if I can continue to try to describe this because it's just so fucking beyond
It
insane.
kind of looks like Alice is standing and she's got. Oh, it looks like Freddy's like straddling her as she's holding him. You know, but their bodies are still together.
Yeah.
So their pelvises are like connected.
Yeah, I mean,
Alice is standing and Freddy's like.
It's basically a blob
Out to
of
the
body
side.
parts with limbs sticking out all over the place.
Kind of like
Well, but
conjoined
Freddy starts
twins.
like crushing, like
crashing through her.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's fucking crazy.
It is weird.
So we cut back to Yvonne, who now has broken through into the tower.
She's crafty.
And there she
Good.
spots the ghost of Amanda kneeling on the floor praying.
Still complete with doves and pigeons.
Yes, the exactly. The tower is filled with doves and pigeons. Yvonne reaches out a hand to touch Amanda, and as she's about to touch her, Amanda's head turns around and her face is all skeletal and decayed, but then instantly morphs back into like what she would look like if she was still alive,
Yeah.
only kind of transparent. Amanda whispers "thank you," then fades away, leaving only her white nun's habit behind.
So we got a naked
creepy.
nun running around. Naked nun goes.
With no bones there or anything.
No.
So
Yeah.
what did you just free by
Exactly.
breaking
Like,
through the
if
bricks?
She was supposed to be. Her body was supposed to be there. Where's her? Exactly. Where's her
Well,
body?
according to Christian mythology, her spirit was still. Her body never got buried, so her spirit was still trapped in.
But it means her body would still been in the tower.
Right.
Right.
So we cut
Which is
back to
what
the.
skeleton. I don't know.
We cut back to the wonky MC Escher room. Amanda appears at the top of some stairs. She looks down on the crazy Freddy Alice blob mutants.
Hiding.
She calls out to Jacob, telling him that Alice cannot and will not triumph in this fight, and that only he can help her now. Now, going further down into the rabbit hole of crazy bullshit, Jacob turns himself into Mini Freddy.
Oh god.
His face becomes all burnt up like Freddy's, and he's bald now too. And to top it off, he changes his voice.
Is he bald?
Yeah,
I don't
he's
know.
totally bald.
I just saw the
and
Freddy face on the
the-
kid, and I was like, "What the fuck?"
the voice he uses just
God.
makes me. I'm just waiting for this kid to say "Red Rum, Red Rum."
That's exactly
That thing, I'm
He's
wait-
the
I'm
red
just-
rum kid.
Yeah.
That is exactly it.
Right?
And actually, I'll look him up. Not the Red Rum kid,
Right.
But that's what
No,
he sounds
of course
like
he's
him.
not. I mean, the Shining was in.
Well, there was not the original Shining, but they did a remake later, like a
really?
TV. Yeah,
Oh wow.
They did it.
Why?
why
Because
not?
it was super popular. Yeah, why not?
So
Money,
anyway,
money, money, money.
The remake was more based off the book
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
Kubrick.
it was it was
The
longer.
TV version was like It, or you know how
It
they
was
aired
like, it was
on
like,
TV.
it was like
Yeah.
a 2 or 3 night.
Night.
Yeah, it's like
mini event.
Langoliers or It or
Yeah, it was a
yeah.
big event.
Money, 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 money.
So now at this point, Freddy, Jake, like Doug says, this is where Jacob says, "I want to learn stuff from you. I don't want to play with mommy anymore. She's boring." Or so Freddy has completely now separated himself from Alice, drops her to the ground, turns his attention to Jacob.
Hey, as he sniffs his, he like
Does he
sniffs
sniff
his
her, or-
fucking. He puts one of the claws up in his nose. He's like, Is it almost as if
Like he's twirling a mustache?
yeah. But he he's like rubbing that claw under his nose. I'm like, oh god, where's that thing been? You might not want to sniff that.
Amanda tells him that now is the time to unleash the power that Freddy has given him. And Jacob says, "School is out, Kruger." And then
Oh my god.
he launches his giant, like, monster tongue at Freddy. Yeah! Which enters Freddy's body through his chest. The tongue separates from Jacob, who turns back to normal and collapses. So the tongue thing rips out through Freddy's back.
We spit out the soul.
And splits into 3 different heads like a hydra. Each head being the dead nightmare version of Dan, Greta, and Mark.
This scene's so crazy.
These heads are screaming and wailing as Amanda comes down the stairs. The head snake demon things, don't fucking know what else to call them at this point. It's just so fucking
Like
insane.
entrails.
They're dragging Kruger.
Yeah, they're pulling Kruger towards Amanda while he's
Like
trying
out
to
of his
fight
back.
it. Yeah. Now, like I said, I know I said this before, but I think it's even weirder if it's possible. It's uber weird here. The flying head snakes continue to free themselves. They
Snakes.
continue to try to free themselves from Freddy's body. They finally are able to pull away, and in doing so, they rip out the mutant Freddy baby from the beginning of the movie. So the Freddy baby is attached to these 3-headed demon snake things.
Yeah.
Once the Freddy baby has been ripped out of Freddy just vanishes.
His clothes go.
And his clothes collapse into a pile on the ground. So Freddy, at this point, pretty much just pulled an Obi-Wan Kenobi, which I'm guessing is oh shit, because he now becomes more powerful than we can even imagine. Alice stands up and finds a baby under Freddy's clothing. She picks not the Freddy baby, a baby.
A real baby.
No, it was under the
Under
hospital
Freddy's?
gown that.
Yeah, it was under
Jacob
the
was
habit
wearing.
ground, or
Right.
whatever Jacob was wearing. It was whatever Jake was wearing, and then Freddy
Yeah.
was under the Freddy baby, or whatever you want to
The
call
alien
it. Yeah,
goober.
Okay,
Yeah.
I thought she picked on her Freddy's clothes, but fine. Well, she picks up a baby, and while Amanda, the ghost Amanda, where picks up the Freddy baby, which tries to squirm away, she's holding on to it. Yeah,
That noise.
Love it.
the Freddy baby bursts into like light and energy rays.
It's
and
green. Green.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
They look greenish
Yeah, it's
yellow.
like
yellow, yeah.
I look yellow. Okay, and they seem to get sucked back into like Amanda's stomach or uterus or womb, I suppose, or whatever. So they get sucked back into her. After that happens, the baby Alice is holding also begins to glow in a bright white light, and it too becomes rays of light and energy that are absorbed back into Alice's stomach.
Alice gets a good baby. She's like, oh yeah.
My light's so much prettier than your
I
light.
got the good baby.
Amanda turns and begins to climb the stairs back the way she came.
She's like hemorrhaging. She's like, oh god,
Yes.
why do I have this in me?
Get out of here.
And she tells Alice to stay back, to take her baby and
Your
leave.
baby.
As Amanda crosses through the door's threshold, Freddy's gloved hand rips out of her stomach, and so not like baby arm,
multiple
Which
full-
the baby didn't have a glove.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's just
yeah.
full-on Freddy hand. The camera starts pulling back down this long hallway as door after doors close and then explode one after another, and as the door explodes, we see Amanda struggling to keep Freddy from like getting out of her.
Bursting out of her, yeah.
The final door slams shut, which is like a really heavy, solid metal door with like one of those like bars that comes down to lock it up. Blackout. Cut to a park. Nice, pretty park. Alice's father is kneeling in front of a baby stroller, talking to a baby. So I guess we're 9 months now, but this baby could have been
Whatever.
next week.
That baby was big. That was a huge baby.
Could
have been.
We cut the next
She looks great, by
Yeah.
the way. She looks
no baby weight whatsoever on her. Just
Man.
perfect.
Hey, I saw her when she was in her late 40s, early 50s. In real life, she does look that good.
right.
But,
She's
yeah.
good.
All right.
She keeps it tight.
Keeps it tight.
Keeps it tight.
So Alice enters the frame, picks up the baby, sits down next to Yvonne. They talk. Again, we learn the name of the baby is Jacob Daniel now. The camera
Aw.
zooms out as Alice, Yvonne, and the father enjoy a nice picnic in the park. As the camera continues to zoom out, we see the creepy jump rope kids jumping rope in slow motion, singing the Freddy nursery rhyme. Roll credits. That's Nightmare on Elm Street 5: The Dream
The
Child.
harmony.
But before I go on to the credits, I have to talk about the song that's played during the credit roll.
Oh yes.
Oh, the rap song.
They
Oh,
play
that's
a
awesome.
rap song called "Let's Go" by Kumo D. This song is so out of place for this movie because this movie is supposed to be dark and the ending is dark and twists and fucking weird, but then it goes right into like this upbeat, like hey, let's go, like this pumping this Kumo D rap song. Like this song should be like the end of like a Ninja Turtles movie,
Yes.
not a Nightmare on Elm Street movie.
Right,
Ninja,
right,
go,
right.
Ninja, go.
1989. I mean,
It's so
again,
fucking weird.
So funny. Right when
So
that song hit, I'm like, huh?
Yeah.
Like they should just played the Freddy nursery rhyme over the credits.
Yeah.
I was
not-
not surprised. I was not surprised.
Dude,
by
I
the
was.
rap song.
It's just so like, what? What other demographic do we have? African Americans watch this too. Well, we need something for them. Let's play Cool Mo D in the credits.
So speaking of the credits, I did notice that one of the stuntmen was George P. Wilbur. Now he's famous in the horror world because George P. Wilbur played Michael Myers in Halloween 4, and he's also credited. He's 128 credits as a stuntman and doing some amazing big name movies like The Towering Inferno, Escape from New York,
Yeah, right.
Star Trek 2, Poltergeist 1 and 2, Ghostbusters 1 and 2, Reanimator. One of my favorites, The Monster Squad. He was in that. Die Hard.
As who?
Was it
I think
Frankenstein?
it just stunts. He's just credit for stunts.
Oh, okay.
Die Hard, The Burbs, Halloween 5 and 6 as well as 4,
Oh, wow.
Silence of the Lambs,
This is a great movie.
Suburban Commando,
Yes.
The Last Boy Scout, Rush Hour, and Spider-Man, the first Tobey Maguire one. I almost said
Nice.
Toby Parker.
Wow.
So that's just...
Now, who was he in this? Say that
He
again.
just stunts.
Okay.
He just, it was
Damn,
the part
that's
stunt
awesome.
team. Yeah.
Wow.
So George P. Wilbur is awesome.
Hey, the more you know.
Yeah. So anyway, that is Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child.
I feel like you say that every podcast.
We do say that.
Every time I do one with you, Doug.
The
He
more
gets
you-
Just with
schooled.
you.
And I
He gets
do.
schooled.
Yeah, I do know more.
All right, guys,
Sitting
let's
with
go
Chris.
on to favorite kills.
Don't act like you didn't love it. Favorite kill.
Now, again, not a lot in this movie. Nightmare on Elm Street don't have a high body count. They're just
They
fucking
really don't.
weird.
Yeah, they
Hey,
don't
wait.
have.
Sorry, I'm not to interrupt. One thing I did want to say about
Yeah.
the end, and I realized it, and then I kind of looked to make sure, but it's just kind of weird. Like Alice made it. She beat him in part 4. She didn't really beat him in part 5. Whatever
No, but she
crazy
survived.
shit happened, but that's it. That doesn't happen with any others. Like Nancy didn't make it,
No.
Kristen didn't make it. Like they all die.
Yep.
Freddie always gets it, and then there's no
Yeah,
continuation of Alice's story.
Alice's story's done at
Because
this
Yeah.
point.
Alice was a black belt. she took on
And
karate
also
powers.
And Yvonne, didn't she?
Yvonne lives too.
Yvonne lives
See,
too,
but I
that's
wouldn't
true.
even consider her any
Yeah.
kind of final girl. She was annoying as shit.
I
She
agree.
should
I
not.
hated
She
Yvonne.
should have been the first dead. Really.
I think so
You know?
too. I
Yeah, she was
cannot-
so annoying.
I didn't. I think it should have been better. Like somebody who actually believed in Freddy at the end should have been like, okay, I believe what I know
Like
what
Mark.
you're doing.
Like
Mark.
Mark, yeah.
I'll help you stop me because I know this is real. I know what you're going up against. Yvonne should have been. I agree. She should have died.
Absolutely.
Anyway, speaking of deaths, favorite kill. We'll go around the table. We'll start with let's go clockwise. So we'll go Doug first. Doug, favorite kill of the movie.
It's tough because I guess I liked the comic book type kill just because it was
Mark,
different
yeah.
and it was so silly in the movie. It was very silly, but it was just kind of neat. I like that they had to draw that. You know?
Yeah,
what I
they
mean?
did.
Like,
They did have to
Yeah.
They
draw
had
that
to do
out.
a
yeah.
lot of extra work. Not that original kills. A lot of there's a lot of creativity and artistic moments in those. But I don't know. I liked.
Mark.
I liked it.
Awesome. Sarah, what's your take?
I'm gonna say this was really hard because if certain people had died, like the drama around all of the deaths were really cool, but then it seemed like the actual death, like in real time, kind of was meh, kind of
Yeah.
sucky. But I will say I think Greta is my favorite just because of just again all the drama. It was very Beetlejuicy. I love that movie. I love what they did, and then I love the ending with the fridge and the die bitch. I just, I did, and I like that he brought her back and then ate out of her stomach. So,
Do you guys
Awesome.
have a magnet on your fridge at home that just says "die, bitch"?
man,
We need
not
one
yet.
now.
We do
We need
now.
one.
Christmas is coming.
I was curious too. Like, it's a die bitch. It's a piece of paper. What was the magnet that was holding?
I wish I would have noticed. I didn't pay attention
I
to
gotta
almost
that.
go
want to
back.
say I feel like it was a Freddy magnet, but I can't be sure. I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyway, so-
Like a claw glove.
Well, the close thing, kind of similar to that, is the like with going back to Doug's favorite kill with Mark, the comic book Nightmares from Hell. like if for those familiar with comic books, on the top left corner it always says like Marvel or DC and like like 35 cents was like in the 60s or something like that. The Nightmare from Hell comic actually has a KC in the top, which would probably stand for Kruger Comics because there's no Marvel or DC.
I did look at that, but I couldn't bring together the KC.
Yeah.
That's
Nice
a good
connection.
catch, man.
Yeah, wow, good catch. I didn't see that.
So anyway,
Marshall doing his research.
Always.
I think
People don't realize how much Marshall puts into these.
yeah.
Oh, he does.
anyway, we interrupt Chris. What's your favorite
sorry. I'm gonna go with the biomechanical Ghost Rider. I guess Dan. I feel like that was kind of the first, and it was kind of cool how it went through the whole, the truck to the motorcycle to the craziness.
The claymation was cool.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm gonna go with Dan.
Dan, Aaron.
Man, it's tough. It's between Dan and Mark. I like the Greta one. It was cool, but still, the thing that did not sell me on the Greta one is when they showed her the real life part of it. She's standing like with her arms to the side, going like an orangutan or something, like ooh,
Like a bad marionette.
Yeah,
doing the
Bring it
bird.
back to the dolls again, though.
yeah, it just didn't look good. But I think I'm gonna have to go with Dan, just because. And Mark was close. It's a close one because I'm a big comic book fan. But after watching a documentary, Never Sleep Again, they talked about how they shot this scene and so much of the stuff, like how much effort they put into like it looked like little pieces going into the skin,
Oh, yeah.
and how they actually had
That was
they
cool.
built the plaster, they built the piece and then shot it in back in reverse so that they pulled it out. And it was just really cool, and so much work went into it, and how it, when I watched it for the first time, as we talked about earlier, how much of an impact it had on me. That's my favorite kill.
Awesome.
And no surprise for me, that same thing, Dan, because like you said, I'll go in a little bit more detail. That kill is one of the few kills throughout my horror movie lifetime, I guess, that left an impact on my psyche, I guess. I never, like, it wasn't like I was never afraid of Nightmare on Elm
just
Street
really
movies, but
remember it.
That it stood out and
He's like, I'll
burned a
never
spot.
ride a motorcycle in my life.
Yeah, which
You've watched balls being crushed. I mean, listening to you talk about that left.
but yeah, that when we watched that summer, I seen that, I was like, that was like the one kill in like a Friday Nightmare that kind of freaked me out, and looking back at it now, like, oh god, this looks so cheesy, but at the time I was like, god damn, it really stuck with me.
Yeah.
So I gotta go with Dan. Dan's my favorite kill, just because it had the most impact, longevity, and long-lasting impact. So, all right, there's our favorite kills for this week. Let's move on to odds and ends.
Not only did they watch these films, they researched them too. Ugh, what is wrong with these guys?
All right, odds and ends. Start with our ratings. IMDb 5.1 out of 10. Rotten Tomatoes has a 33% thermometer score with a 32% audience score.
Wow.
It's pretty low.
Yeah, low too.
Pretty low.
That's too low, though. It should be a little higher. It's Nightmare on Elm Street. You know what you're getting when you got into those,
Right.
or you should.
But then again, the well did run.
Yeah,
pretty
you're
dry.
right.
I can
Yeah,
understand the critic, the thermometer score being low, but I would think the audience score would be a little
audience,
higher.
Would
I
have
thought
had
so,
more
too.
fun with it. I don't know.
Yeah.
And Amazon gives it a 3.4 out of 5. So,
Typical Amazon.
yeah, typical Amazon. Plot keywords. There were 134 of them.
Of course.
They were all pretty boring and standard, but we'll play one quick guessing game here. Was panties a plot keyword?
It's
I was
tough to
just
say
gonna
because
say
I
no.
don't remember any panties. There was swimsuit. I'm gonna say no.
Yeah, I know from Aaron. Anybody else want?
I'm gonna agree now.
No. All right.
I'm gonna...
Yeah, it's no. But
Okay. I was hoping against hope.
What about abortion?
Ooh.
I would have wrote down abortion. For
So he's saying he didn't go through all of them.
So we're the
I went through all
So
134.
panties is no?
No panties.
Okay.
Oh.
Yeah, another rare in our occasion.
It is
not
rare,
a no panty
yeah.
one. All right. Now let's go into trivia. And holy cow, I found a lot of trivia. So much so I ended up leaving some of it out because there was just so much. So let's see. First of all, that school's outline that Jacob says at the end was a replacement line because the actor, the kid at the time, was a minor, and the parents, I guess, he wasn't permitted to say "fuck you, Kruger," which was the original line. So they changed it to "school's out," which makes it's still, I would change something because "school's out" makes 0 sense
Right.
because it's not really based around a school year or a
no,
school.
but-
But he did say right
Kruger
before
is
that.
schooling.
Well, he's like, teach me everything you know.
Yeah,
like right
teach,
before
but
that.
That's a stretch.
Yeah.
I mean,
Well,
I know you're trying to help, but
it's all
I think
a
that's
stretch.
a little stretch. Yeah.
It's all-
So, director Stephen
Yeah.
Hopkins was given 4 weeks to shoot the film and a further 4 weeks to edit the film, which meant he had to shoot on one stage while the crew dressed the other stage so they could shoot almost continually.
What?
After he made it, the studio was so impressed he was given the task of directing Predator 2 in 1990.
Oh,
Wow.
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 So when Alice wakes up from her nightmare in the asylum and Robert Englund appears by her bedside and pins her down, originally said there's no such thing as safe sex. The line was cut from the film. Both horror author Stephen King and comic book writer Frank Miller were offered the jobs of writing and directing this movie. Could you imagine Frank Miller directing this shit? It'd just be like all black and white on green screen. The whole movie would have been Mark's death scene.
A Frank Miller version of Freddy would be awesome.
That would be fantastic.
Oh my god.
I could do so many cool things.
Oh man, all it would just be like bombshell girls walking around with giant boobs, and like just like weird. It'd be so awesome.
The graduation sequence, which I thought was too long, was actually cut down significantly a lot to speed up the pace in the film. As a result, there are several continuity errors throughout the whole scene. I'm not going to go into all the errors that they listed here, but I have a
Which
bunch
part?
of them. The graduation scene.
Oh, fuck yeah.
It was cut down. I have all the errors listed, but for time, I'm going to skip over it.
dude.
Well, we already know the error. The error is them even being together in the first fucking place. There's no way they would have all hooked up and been
That
friends in 3
outshadows-
months.
That's very true.
That outshadows all of it.
Now this is a trivia piece that actually kind of brings it back to our show too. But the laughter heard at the end of the movie right before the credits roll is like Vincent Price laughter from the Michael Jackson's
Yep.
Thriller video,
Yep.
which is also at the end of our opening theme, I believe.
Oh.
No, that's not.
Isn't that Vincent Price laughter?
No.
Oh shit! I just fucked that up. I'm gonna edit that out later.
I want to re-listen to the end of the credits.
Yeah, but
really.
it's definitely Vincent Price's
Oh yeah.
laughter at that.
Well, the laugh in the Vincent Price one is so long, whereas at the end of our song it's just wah ha 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 ha. You know, the Vincent Price one builds and builds and builds, and then drifts.
Would you have to pay like licensing rights to that if you?
You would think.
I
Vincent
hope
Price
nobody's
laugh?
don't listen to this.
I mean,
I don't know about that. The laugh.
I don't know.
being-
Is that like?
If
I don't-
it's from
is
a
that a
certain
part of the
thing.
song?
Maybe. I don't know.
Vincent Price.
I thought it was from. I thought it was exclusive for Thriller.
Yeah.
Vincent Price did the. He dictated the piece that they gave to him, and then he did the laugh, and I think it's exclusive to Thriller.
From
Interesting.
St. Louis, by the way.
Yeah.
Yeah, St. Louis
Yeah.
Vincent Price.
So Michael Jackson owns the laugh? Michael Jackson's estate
Michael
owns
Jackson
the
doesn't
laugh?
own shit.
Hey, man.
He's
Now
But he's not dead. He's not dead.
He's a hologram.
he's with Elvis somewhere. Now this Sarah touched on this. According to director Stephen Hopkins, this is the tarantulas. They got lots of tarantulas, hand painted them green and red,
No, they did not.
and on the floor of the stage they placed a little wall in the shape of an arm and had trainers come in and around the tarantulas. The plan was to simply drop the wall and film the resulting scattering of the spiders. However, after they got the shot, they were left with a studio full of about 100 angry tarantulas.
Oh my god.
Hopkins figures we probably carried on shooting on another set. I'm sure. I don't think anyone ever found them again. As far as the director knows,
Holy shit.
Oh, we just let them go.
the spiders roamed freely through the studio and escaped into the free world, or maybe it was just somebody else's job to ensure the tarantulas were all accounted for, but they never figured out what happened to the tarantulas.
That's hilarious.
According to the director.
That is the
Holy
beginning
shit.
of another horror movie.
Yeah.
Like that's like arachnophobia too.
God damn it. Can we write this shit down? Is nobody taking notes?
We've created
Freddy
5 new
tarantulas
movies.
out there.
So we've got Freddy tarantulas out there.
Just roaming around.
Dream tarantulas.
Somebody glue some
Oh
claws
my
on them sons of
God.
bitches and put them to work.
This is the final Elm Street film until Freddy vs. Jason to feature the Jump Rope Kids singing Freddy's rhyme, which we did mention. They
The
changed
Jump
this.
Rope Kids were not in Freddy's Dead?
According to this, is not. And I remember watching Freddy's Dead. I don't remember seeing them.
That seems weird.
And it's also the final Elm Street to feature children living in Springwood. They stopped using Springwood after this, which I guess explains why they don't follow up with Alice's story anymore.
I think she would move.
What
I
the
mean,
hell was Freddy's Dead about? Wasn't that like them living in like whatever
so, too.
town and him
No,
raising the daughter and molesting
No,
her?
that
or
was
something?
that was the flashbacks. The flashbacks were of Freddy's Dead, or Freddy raising his family in Springwood, but the actual present time of the movie took place somewhere else.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I
and
know
it starred
Roseanne was
a
in
very
it.
very young Breckin Meyer was in Freddy's Dead too.
Huh.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Now pay attention to this one, guys, because this can't
Oh,
come
the
back.
DVD.
I know, and I've watched a lot of them many times, but not that one.
fact,
But
I'm gonna
hold
borrow
on,
that.
everybody, pay attention to Marshall.
This can come back. This can help you later, maybe. The film opened at number 3 at the box office, but it disappeared thereafter, and it was the lowest grossing film in the franchise. However, Robert Englund stated that the film was a success.
alternative facts.
So it opened at number 3.
Altfacts.com.
Sorry.
How long did it take for it to
.org.
drop off?
.org.
After the first week? Or
It just said, yeah, I'm guessing after the first weekend. Now, Aaron, you get maybe vexed for this. In the documentary Never Sleep Again, The Elm Street Legacy, director Stephen Hawkins admitted that he thought Mark's death scene was silly, but being a comic book nerd, he just had to have it in the movie. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I
you
mean,
go.
I don't remember specifically, but I remember liking it a lot.
We
yeah.
already covered the love scene in Super Freddy, so we covered Nursery Rhyme changing. All right, we're gonna move over. All right, if you the original Nightmare on Elm Street poster in 88-99, you're probably curious. It says Dream Child Men. It was going on the poster was a fetus in a crystal ball in Freddy's glove. Well, the people making the film thought it was too weird, so the poster came out before they actually had a clear idea what the movie was going to be. So it was just a really weird fact. Like, so let's make this poster before we even know what the movie's going to be. They just knew it was going to be called The Dream Child.
Yeah,
and they made
that's-
a poster based
Yeah,
off
let's
it.
go
Well,
with
it's
it.
like Chris said, making one every year.
Yeah.
You think of it, when you say that out loud, the movie's coming out in a year, just think of all the people
yeah.
involved that have no time to fucking do anything.
Right.
It's like
Oh
they
my
tell
God, yeah.
you to, even if it's like, get the food ready for the set and we're going to be filming this long, or draw the poster for this or do this.
Yeah.
You get no direction probably, and it's
yeah.
like, get it done.
Well, Marshall even said he had 4 weeks.
4 weeks to film it, 4 weeks to edit it.
So
Wow,
like 2
that's-
months.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Put
because
this
I
together and get it out in 2 months.
do remember watching in the documentary how they were just like they talked about how they just pounded through, like they had to, like they were doing construction, they'd go, okay, quiet on the set. They had to be quiet because right next door they're building another set while they're filming, like in the
Right.
next room.
That's
Wow.
crazy.
Well,
Yeah.
and speaking of
That's
the
intense.
confusing, not knowing what was going on, virtually nothing of the screenplay that was written by John Skip and Craig Spector, who will get writing credits, made it into filming. According to John Skip, the only phrase "It's a boy" was retained out of the entire first draft of the script.
Wow.
What? That's it?
Around half of what
crazy.
Leslie Bohem's screenplay was kept. William Wisher Jr. and David Schroll, S-C-H-O-W, Schroll, did further rewrites, and the final screenplay was put together just days before shooting by Michael DeLuca. Writers John Skip and Craig Spector had to fight hard to get credit for the work on the original script.
It's almost like the studio was like, "Fuck, dude,
They
we're
didn't
running
know
out
what the
of
fuck
time.
they were doing.
Yeah.
We're running out of time. We
Which
got to get as
explains
much
why
money as
this
we
movie
can.
is
We got to
so
squeeze
good.
every last single fucking drop out
It
of this."
turns out the original script, like a couple was walking by and saw a dog, and the girl was like, "Is that a boy or a girl?" And the husband was like, "It's a boy."
Let's keep it.
And they wrote a whole
it makes
movie
me
around
wonder-
that fucking line.
But it makes me wonder, I kind of want to read that original script. Like, I can't imagine it being any worse than what this one was.
Right.
Or if it was, like, how bad was that script that they had to
Right.
ditch it, and then they came up with this piece of
Right.
trash.
Yeah.
Now, a few people here are married. How long did it take to plan your wedding? About
8 months.
We were engaged for 14 months, but that's only because of just life. But it takes, it's like
Yeah.
it takes months and months, like 6 to 8, a year. 6 months.
and they planned, wrote, directed, and completed a fucking movie in under a year.
Yeah.
Like, that's just a weird
Right.
comparison.
Yeah,
but it's
yeah,
like,
yeah.
God damn.
And that's typical. It's like it's about a year to plan a wedding, and typically, you know,
Yeah.
it's like it depends on how you want to do it. But yeah, I mean, that's crazy.
I
That's
don't
a
know what
great,
that
that's a
says.
great
It's
way of
just
putting
a
it.
weird way to think.
And that's
like,
coming from the guy who's not married.
correct.
I didn't even think about
But I've
that.
never
Yeah,
made a
good
movie.
job.
But
But you will after today.
I'm skipping this fact.
Wrote it.
We talked about Ted Nugent making a cameo appearance, but Eric Singer, former drummer of Alice Cooper, Black Sabbath, Badlands and current Kiss drummer. He also makes a cameo as one of the band members with Ted Nugent, so he's also in the film. Doug, you mentioned this, and it is a fact. Alice is the only person who has fought Freddy Krueger twice and survived.
Whoa.
She's the only one.
Hey,
I thought
nailed
that
it.
as it was
Go
ending. I
Alice.
was like, ooh, I forgot. She made it.
All of Mark's drawings that we saw throughout the thing were supposed to come to life during his big death scene, but were cut because it was too long. It was just going to cost too long or take too long.
Hey, I
And-
want it done in 2 months, and I want it an hour and a half. Go.
Yeah.
All the death sequences, speaking of that, were actually cut down significantly in order to avoid an X rating. Dan's original motorcycle death was much longer and contained much more gore.
An X rating?
Yep.
That's the X rating is such a 80s thing.
Yeah. And
You know, it's
basically
like,
now they've been NC-17.
want to get an
I mean,
X
this is like barely R.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
It's so
real
comic,
blood
but
Yeah,
it's
it's
so
the 80s.
comical.
I think was so the ratings were so
89
different.
though.
It's
I
so
mean,
strange
yeah.
because, like, would you ever hear of an X rating? What movies today you have to push so hard?
last one I can think of
get
it
Porn.
was even
X.
close to like
Yeah,
an
I mean,
X
yeah,
rating
serious
was
porn.
Showgirls.
Porn is triple
X. That's true.
Showgirls, wasn't that like?
That's R.
That was. I thought that was NC-17.
That might be
NC-17.
That was NC-17.
Yeah, so what is an X rating anymore? I don't think there was
Yeah.
anything that was rated X.
There had been a few things
Taboo
rated
2
single
was
X,
triple X.
but there had to be something single X before it even exist. But like a few of the examples, Dan's face was supposed pain, screams with Freddy's laughter. Let's see, Greta's dinner scene was also edited because originally Freddy filleted the Greta doll with the claw glove, causing it to spurt blood everywhere, and then force fed her its innards. Shots of the guests laughing were cut. Also, Freddy said, "You are what you eat." And as she looks down and realized that he had gutted her and was feeding her much from her own
Oh,
stomach.
that would have been way cooler.
That would have
Yeah.
been way cooler.
Yeah.
This explains why the
Favorite
Greta doll
kill,
in Mark's
right there.
dream is bleeding from the torso, but still is the doll in her place. So, and Mark's demise too is more. It was more detailed of him shredding the paper, which was pretty detailed anyway. But,
Yeah.
But don't they like decapitate him? Like that was one of the things that were cut out or something like that. That he like originally was decapitated and all that.
Yeah, but when you see the final piece of fall, it's like his head and like a part of his neck and collarbone, not straight decapitation, but yeah, I mean they may have changed some things,
Yeah.
but that's what it is. So that's most of the trivia. I cut a few things out just to save for time, but that means let's go on to the 100th episode. Had to do it. 100th episode version of the Budget Game.
Oh!
It's now time to play everyone's favorite game, Guess the Budget.
9, Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. We'll go again. We'll go clockwise. We'll start with Doug.
It's really it really is tough because you always got to think back to the 80s and what were they spending, but man, all I can think of is they were doing a lot
80s money.
in this movie that was really like that animation and the like the big scenes, and I don't know that you had seen that a ton yet. I mean 10 million? That's such a shot in the dark guess. I don't know. I mean 10 million.
10 million from Doug.
Because I don't think the stars were getting paid a ton of money or nothing, but those effects.
Okay, Sarah, moving on to you.
All right, I agree with that totally. I don't want to overshoot it though. This is hard. 80s money.
I'm afraid
Now you know what I have to do every
I
week.
know.
I'm
I'm so
afraid I'm
sorry.
way undershooting. Like, there's part of me in my head that's like 50 million. I don't know. I don't fucking know.
I'm gonna go. I'm gonna try not to be influenced by that. I'm gonna say $7.5 million.
Oh, 7.5 million.
Now, I'll just say, and
This
I'm
just
not
felt
allowed
good.
to
It
change,
felt good.
I think you and I are way low. Now, just thinking
think we're
things
too
through, I'm
low?
like, were movies made for
Well,
10
no,
million?
look.
Well, what did it gross?
Marsha
Do
already
we know
told
what it
us
grossed?
that it was 4 months total. You had 4 months to do the entire shoot and edit. No, weeks.
2 months.
2
4
months.
weeks. 4 weeks to shoot. 4
So you
weeks
had
to
2
edit.
months
and put
to
it out.
shoot and edit. It was an hour and a half. We already told that like a lot of the writing was changed in order to. I think you guys are over.
Huh? Like it was lower. Like they had to move so fast they had to use whatever they could. Like they weren't really spent, you know.
She said 7.5.
She said 7.5.
I'm coming right under at 6.
Chris is coming in at $6 million.
Trying to Price is Right, yeah.
All right.
Damn. $1.
I just feel like it all moved real quick. Like you said, there was no real actors.
Yeah.
Nobody was even really in this movie for that long.
All
Ted
right.
Nugent.
That bastard. That's $10 million right there.
I'm kind of going piggybacking off of what Chris said, but I watched that documentary. They did not say the budget, and I don't know the budget. I really don't. But I remember them talking about how at a breakneck speed they had, and the producers who worked for New Line Cinema were total ball busters. They wanted it to become, so I'm saying, and for some reason, 4.5 is sticking in my head.
$4.5 million from Aaron. All right.
Damn.
We have a winner. The winner will receive Doug's collectible Nightmare on Elm Street box set as a prize.
Yeah! I'm fine with
I was
that.
like, does Doug know this?
No, but I just made it happen. The winner with an exact guess.
Seriously?
Chris Sample, $6 million.
Congratulations, buddy.
Ooh,
Nice job.
that was good. We all floated.
Well,
Now I feel bad because Aaron. Damn it.
However,
What, you guys have a bet or something?
no.
Was it really
I'm
6
always so
million?
close.
but we can go on to the bonus round. Now I mentioned this in the trivia. What was the opening weekend gross in the box office?
Oh.
I have these numbers.
Opening
we're
weekend.
We're gonna go reverse order here. We're gonna go Aaron first. Aaron, opening weekend.
Did
4.5 million.
$4.5 million.
Did you say it opened at number 1, or you haven't told
3.
us? It
It
opened
opened
at
at
number
No,
3.
opening number 3.
Three.
Do you know what beat it?
I did not find out what beat it.
In '89, who knows?
I'll say $100 million. I mean, I bet.
Biggest box offer ever.
I mean, seriously.
Gigantic Star Wars money.
I go
All right.
$100 million.
I don't know. I mean,
$1.
Million. No.
what did Aaron say?
4.5. I stuck with my own.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, Sarah.
Yeah. Okay. I mean,
Watch him be right.
I'm gonna go. You said it was third at the box office.
it went for 6. I mean, in '89, Freddy.
I'm gonna go. I'm just pulling a number out of my butt. I'm gonna say $3 million.
Oh, that's
$3
what I
million.
wanted to say.
Do you want me to say
budget? You don't
2.5?
think this movie?
That's
You
what
don't
I
think
wanted
this
to say.
movie
Well,
made
look,
any?
this
This is
million.
opening weekend. This isn't the whole
Oh,
run.
opening
Oh,
weekend.
opening weekend.
Opening
Oh,
weekend,
Hey,
not
put
the
that
whole
phone
run.
away. Phones away. Phones away.
Let's do.
No, I have something else coming up. Phones away.
Yeah. Have you ever played a trivia night, Chris?
He's like the ringer on trivia. He's great at trivia.
All right, Doug. If you want to say $3 million, you can say $3 million. I'm not going to stop you from
No, I'll Price is Right her. I'll say $2 million.
$2 million.
Yeah.
Well, you all suck. But the closest one, so technically the winner would be Mr. Aaron Southworth. Opening weekend gross $8,115,176.
So opening weekend, it made over $2 million from its original budget.
Now,
Damn.
the lightning third round. Special sudden death.
I like it. I like it.
What was the total gross of this movie in its entire theatrical run?
How long was it in theaters?
That I don't have. But I think most time they take it. I think it's like a month.
Usually it's
month
about
and
a month or two.
Yeah, a month and a half is kind of the average when they stop.
So its opening weekend, it did $8 million.
When did it?
Well, who's the
what
first
month?
person to go?
What month did it come
Turn
out?
back. We'll go back to Doug.
All right, Doug will be first.
Okay, you did say that it dropped off, which doesn't surprise me because word of mouth on this couldn't have been like you have to go see this.
Yeah,
movie.
I would imagine
that
so.
just couldn't have been.
That's what I said. Pay attention to that trivia. It might give you a little bit of
Everybody
help.
was excited, like for the sequel to 4. Really, 'cause 4 did great. I think okay in theaters and did awesome on VHS. I'm gonna guess the overall gross was $20 million.
$20 million from Doug. All right, Sarah.
I'm gonna just double it and say 16.
$16 million. All right, Chris.
Say $20 million.
I said 20.
I said 16.
Double the 8.
Double
right?
the 8.
Yeah. Because 8 was opening
8
weekend.
was the opening weekend.
Yeah.
20, 16, going 50.
$50 million from Chris.
$50 million.
And Aaron,
$13 million.
$13 million from Aaron.
Whoa.
All right.
It's all getting crazy
Well,
up in here.
we do have a winner. This, of course, we have a winner, obviously.
Oh.
Winner of round 3 of total gross, Mr. Coffee Doug Jones.
Oh!
Total gross for the movie was $22,168,539 American dollars.
I'd like
job,
to thank
everybody.
the Academy and the Horror Hound.
So
attendees
it made
and the
$22
horrible
million.
horror people.
Yep.
I'm sorry, Doug. I'm sorry. I just totally just doing
Kanye Wested him.
dicked all over his fucking acceptance speech.
I'll let you finish.
Kanye'd him.
So that is crazy. So what was it? It cost what, $4.5 million to make? What,
$6 million to make.
$6 million to make, and it made 22.
Yeah, 22.
That's incredible.
That's crazy.
Like for this movie.
Yeah, this piece of shit.
Wow.
No wonder it had like a
power of
TV
Freddy
show
Krueger.
and all
Yes.
kinds of shit behind it. Yeah.
All right, let's move on to 5-star reviews.
These special movies have a place in these special people's hearts. 5-star reviews.
Don't they say, I'm sorry, in like that documentary and stuff, but like New Line, the house that Freddie built?
Yes.
Don't they? I've always
Yes.
heard
Yeah.
that. New
Yes.
Line Cinema is the house that,
Well-
because without Freddy Krueger movies,
Line
that
Cinema-
New Line
Yeah.
Cinema would
Okay,
never
okay,
existed.
yeah.
Yeah,
I just want to make sure that was
totally is.
That's,
Yeah.
totally right. 5-star reviews. There were only 3 5-star reviews for this on Amazon, which blew me away. That's it. But anyway, from MasterCard says, "Awesome, thank you."
MasterCard.
Awesome. Thank you.
Next is
said.
from Visa.
Worst review ever.
Yeah, right. But give 5 stars.
Yeah. Followed up, we have Rosie Eder, who says, "I love this movie, one of my all-time faves, 5 stars." And Matt says, "Favorite horror series, 5 stars." So he's not even giving the movie 5 stars. He's just piggybacking off the Freddy franchise.
Sure.
Okay.
That's lazy, Matt.
It's a pretty
lazy.
weak review.
Weak sauce. I know, weak
Those were-
sauce. But there was a 2-star review from Randall Barnes. Simply puts, it's pretty bad.
Short and to the point.
Yep, exactly.
Dude, there were like more in-depth reviews about 2000 Maniacs than there was about
Yeah.
Nightmare on Elm Street 5. You know?
Actually, I gotta give it up to you guys because 2000 Maniacs.
It was
Fucking loved it.
awesome.
Did it?
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you for that. So that all right. That kind of brings us to our ending. We're going to start wrapping this up. Like we always do with final thoughts, final recommendations. As always, we let our guests go first. So again, let's keep it with going clockwise. So Doug, what's your so bad it's good, so bad it's scary final thoughts on Nightmare on Elm Street 5?
Definitely so bad it's good. It's but I've got a nostalgia factor because I grew up with Nightmare on Elm Street and Freddy and even the worst of the worst, which I didn't love. You know, when they were bad, they were bad. But there was parts in this movie that I really enjoyed, and I really didn't mind, like, even though it made no sense, they were like, when you talk about like how quick they had to move and the things they had to do, they were trying to get deep with like her being pregnant and him being reborn and the abortion thing, and like they tried. They threw in a lot of cool effects. So I'm a fan of it. It's not the best by any means, and you don't have to watch it. You could watch part 4 and be done with Alice's story, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah,
Well said. Well said, Sarah.
I'm going to agree completely with that, with everything that he just said. I'm going to say so bad it's good, but also because I saw the first movie and then I never watched the second and third, and just recently watched the fourth one and then watched this one. So like the first one is so disconnected from Alice's story. I like the continuation of Alice's story because that in the fourth movie was so bonkers. I mean, like again, like the karate. I cannot get over that, and just how ballsy and crazy she was. Like, come on, motherfucker! And like, I agree. Like, it's a nostalgia thing. And I've seen so many worse movies than this. So bad it's good.
All right, Chris.
I'm gonna have to hat trick this because I mean, again, so bad it's good just because it's a Freddy movie, man. I mean, you know what you're getting when you get into it, and like we said, you know, I've said this whole time from '84 to '89, they put out 5 movies in 5 years. Look, they just went to the well one too many times, and it's kind of drying up. But again, you know what you're getting. And it was fun. It was a fun ride, you know. So yeah, so bad it's good.
All right, Aaron.
I feel like you have to separate yourself from the Nightmare on Elm Street franchise. Nightmare on Elm Street 1, 2, 3, and 4, you've already built this established, successful franchise. If you're looking at it as a standalone movie, it's not going to make any sense. You have to piggyback off of the franchise itself. So that's kind of weird. It's the shittiest one of the whole series. It's like one of the worst ones. There's some great Nightmare on Elm Street movies. And it's hard to just separate it on its own. The movie cannot stand by itself without the previous build-up. I mean, obviously it's a number 5, so it's kind of hard to separate it. But man, it had great effects. It had great stuff going on for it, and that part I was really entertaining. I just have a hard time enjoying it though because of all the established stuff. So I'm gonna say it's so bad it's scary.
All right, I'm glad I'm not the only one that's going to say this because I can agree with Aaron. Now, some of the things Doug said maybe did make me stop and think about. I already forgot what he said, but it made me think of something.
It was very meaningful and deep.
It was meaningful and deep. No, you're right. They tried to do things with this movie that.
I think you said
but
it
at
best.
the same time, Sarah says they kind of, or Chris, they went to the well one too many times. They kind of at this point jumped the shark. And like Aaron says, if you haven't seen the previous one, you're not going to understand this one completely and it doesn't really work as a standalone. And it's just so fucking weird. And I think they went too deep with the storyline, the whole babies dreaming in utero, and that's bringing Freddy back, right. and it's too convoluted and too fucking weird. At this point, Freddy's more of a comedian, and you just want something. At this point, I think most audience members just want to watch them for a good time, not have to be like, "What the fuck is going on?"
I felt
which
like
is what this movie is doing.
I felt like it was Freddy at his worst.
Yeah.
Oh,
number 6 is pretty goddamn bad too. That's some bad shit there. But I think this is probably the worst one of the series. I agree. I think you watch 1. 1's great. Watch 3, and then I would say skip all the way to the New Nightmare, which is a completely separate own. But
4.
4. I think 4 is pretty good.
4 is pretty good.
You said it best, though. You made a point. Different writers. So, like Aaron said, they try to continue. That's a good point, Marshall. Like all the different writers just fucking. It's
they
tough.
added their own
It's like in
spin
comic
to
books.
it.
Every time an X-Men or Spider-Man gets a different writer, the storyline changes completely.
crazy.
Characters drop off. They bring in new ones, and shit just gets weird. There's no continuity here. I'm saying so bad it's scary. But we're gonna have a mixed review of this for this
mixed
panel.
bag,
but that's fine. That's great.
Yeah, that's the way we like it.
So yeah, that's gonna wrap us up for this week. 100 episodes in the bag. This has been awesome. Thank you everybody for listening. Thank you for Chris, Sarah, Doug for coming back.
Thanks
As
for
always,
having
love
us.
you guys here.
Yes, absolutely.
We'll be back in another week with another horror movie, episode 101. In the meantime, guys, watch more horror movies and remember to always keep it tight.
Tight.
Woohoo!